Look around at the world right now, wars multiplying, young people refusing to have children, debt spiraling everywhere, in households, in governments, people not trusting strangers, politicians who seem more interested in their own survival than in solving any actual problem. A lot of people sense that something is deeply wrong, but most explanations for why this is happening are too simple, too political, too focused on one villain or one bad policy. What if the decline we are living through is not a malfunction? What if it is how civilizations always end? Predictably, in stages, following a pattern that has repeated itself throughout all of human history. Conflict and wars, environmental collapse, rising unemployment, and a culture that no longer values hard work, what China calls the Bailan age, the let it rot attitude, and what Americans call quiet quitting. Falling birth rates, to the point where entire populations are shrinking, inflation eating wages, higher stress, more anxiety, more depression, public and private debt reaching unsustainable levels, erosion of trust, people less willing to help a stranger, housing costs so high that young people cannot buy a home or start a family. If the signs of decline are all these things, then the signs of a rising society are the opposite. People trust each other, they save money, they are optimistic, they have lots of children, they work hard because they believe in the future. Which world are we in right now? The answer is not a political opinion. The data is what it is. The first theory comes from a French economist named Thomas Piketty, who wrote a book called Capital in the 21st Century. His argument is about the natural life cycle of capitalism. Capitalism starts in a productive phase. Companies build factories, hire workers, create real things that people need. Wealth is generated broadly. Then it shifts into a financial phase. Instead of building more factories, the people who got rich put their money into financial markets. The stock market grows faster than the real economy. So everyone puts their money into speculation rather than production. Nobody builds anything anymore. Then comes the final phase, monopoly capitalism, where a handful of enormous companies control entire sectors of the economy. Competition disappears, innovation slows. The key insight is that money and wealth are not the same thing. Wealth is a factory, a crop, a product someone actually wants. Money is a number. You can generate enormous amounts of money through financial speculation, while the actual wealth of a society, its productive capacity, its infrastructure, its human capital, quietly rots. The second theory comes from historian Peter Turchin. He looked at the Roman Empire, the French Revolution, and dozens of other collapses, and found one consistent pattern: elite overproduction. He explains this through a famous experiment called rat utopia. A scientist named Calhoun put rats in a sealed room with unlimited food and water. At first they were happy. Then, no matter how he configured the experiment, the rats always ended up killing each other. The reason was not competition for food, it was competition for status. In nature, when one rat wins and becomes the alpha, the losing rats leave and start their own colonies somewhere else. In the sealed room, there was nowhere to go, so the losers just kept fighting the winner until they all died. That is what elite overproduction looks like in a society. The wealthy class keeps having children who want positions of power, but there are only so many positions. The ones who cannot find a place do not quietly accept the situation. They form factions. They fight each other. And each faction drags parts of the middle class and the general population into the conflict. The result is either civil war, revolution, or total collapse. The third theory is from the German philosopher Oswald Spengler, who argued that civilizations move through a life cycle just like a human being. You are born as a village, tight-knit, hard-working, lots of children, everyone pulling together. You grow into a town, then a city. If you are successful, you become a megacity. And in the megacity, something breaks. You are no longer close to the land or to each other. The food you eat, the water you drink, the electricity you use, you have no idea where any of it comes from. Everything is abstract. You become individualized. You only care about your own pleasure. You do not want children. You want immigrants to do the work you no longer want to do. The megacity, Spengler says, is the death of civilization, and there is nothing anyone can do to stop it. Now, combine all three theories and a larger picture emerges. At the core of every society is a small number of elite families who own the fundamental levers of power, finance, intelligence, and the institutions that shape what people believe. Around them is a middle class that manages the system, and beneath all of that are the people who do the actual work. When a society is rising, the elite families are confident enough to let the middle class run things fairly openly. Democracy works. Merit is rewarded. Workers believe they have a stake in the system. But as the elite families grow and have more children who all want power, the competition at the top becomes vicious. The managers respond not by fighting for the workers, but by squeezing them harder. Politicians lie, institutions become corrupt, the system becomes more extractive. Eventually, the elite fractures into competing factions. Each faction pulls in allies from the middle class. The middle class pulls in the people. And what you get is polarization, then paralysis, then collapse. What makes it impossible to stop, Spengler would say, is that by the time you reach this stage, you are already deep in the megacity phase. People are too individualized, too self-absorbed, too distrustful of each other to cooperate on a solution. The world is in decline. That is not pessimism. It is the reading of the evidence against a theory that has been tested across thousands of years of human history. Every previous civilization that reached this point went through some version of collapse before something new could be built. That does not mean nothing can be done, but it does mean that the solutions being offered by the political class, the next election, the next policy, the next charismatic leader, are almost certainly not enough. Because the problem is structural. It is in the nature of how wealth accumulates, how power concentrates, and how complexity eventually overwhelms a society's ability to govern itself. Understanding the pattern at least tells you where you are, and maybe knowing where you are is the first step toward figuring out where you want